Greetings, everyone. Peace. My name is T. Luna Amonoo, as some of you might know, and I have the honor and privilege of speaking about the literature and philosophy of our master teacher, Dr. Akua Gray, as we continue to celebrate 20 years of a life of peace, wellness, education institute. Okay, so our amazing instructor, founder, global wellness, naturopathic practitioner, teacher, mentor, Dr. Akua Gray is the author of many amazing books that most of us had the honor of reading. And so I will be talking about my experience of working with Dr. Akua Gray's literature and understanding and um, diving deep in the philosophy of her work. And so that is what our presentation, that won't be too long today, is going to be about. Dr. Akua has taken her knowledge and wisdom of years of working on herself and on her family and in her community, and has blessed us with so many forms of literature that will last a lifetime. So for myself, from a personal, Dr. Kua Grays, she has over 13 published literature, personally authored books that are manuals, that are lifestyle guides, that are practices, practical guides for wellness, for living a life as a person, as an individual of wellness, but also to be in alignment with family, with relationship, your mind, body, and soul, and the practice, and also sharing that with your community. Her literature, through all the forms of literature, whether it is a manual, whether it's a guide, whether it's even a cookbook, expands through physical wellness, nutrition, emotional wellness, spirituality, sexual health, energy, and natural healing. So my first introduction to Dr. Akua Gray was through this book, one of the OG copies of Today Wellness Manifestations. And through my research, I found that this is actually one of her earliest books that she wrote, and I had the honor of this is the book that started it all for me. When I first heard of Dr. Akua Gray, now it has been a decade of being a student through first her literature and then her guided wisdom. Now it's a decade for me. I'm celebrating a decade this year. And so today's wellness manifestations was this first practical tool. And so in 20, and I like to write little notes to myself when I purchase books. And so in 2016, I wrote, when I first purchased this book, you asked to have it written. And that is exactly the aspect of my personal journey that today's wellness had on me as one of the first guided tool books and lifestyle principle books that I ever received at that part of my journey. And so in today's wellness, she has shared affirmations, manifestations, practices that make wellness living and um, restructuring the mind, taking control, being in a more positive mindset, and manifesting the life that we desire, practical. And this little book seems so small, but it is a tool that I use to transform my life at a critical moment that I was seeking. So that is what, the books like Today's Wellness Manifestations meant to me 10 years ago. And so the second book that I bought from Dr. Akua Gray was Holistic Sexuality, and I bought it at the same time, I think. So Holistic Sexuality, a practical guide to sexual healing. And again, I got the OG copy, so because I'm true to this, not new to this. And so I said my art and everything, passion, purpose, and pleasure. Healing Holistically. And again, that was written to myself in 2016. So this is how serious I I was before I became a student. I first found her literature and I was so grateful. So holistic sexuality, for those that may not be familiar with it, is really, it says a practical guide to sexual healing. Absolutely. It is one of the my number one things in my toolkit um, when it comes to identifying what I wanted as a young woman in relationships, from intimacy. And so giving practical tools for understanding the divine purpose of relationships, of intimate relationships, of marriage, of partnerships, and however diverse that might be, what might come to be in our individual journeys. And so I often recommend holistic sexuality to people. It's one of my number one top recommendations when I do my trainings, when I have my recommendation reference book list. I always recommend actually these two books, but absolutely holistic sexuality, because so many people need guidance in those areas that we weren't necessarily taught in our upbringing. So one of Dr. Akua's earliest books, if not the earliest book, that she wrote is Veggie Delights. And she has recently made a new version of this that is fully colored. And I loved it. I got to see it recently, but I don't have a copy of my own. And so Veggie Delights, which is signed by her. I believe I've got Veggie Delights in my naturopathic clinician training in 2019. And so I was at the privilege and honor of having her sign my first book because, and I'll say, Dr. Akua's practice of as an author is so tangible, it's practical, it's for you to incorporate it in your everyday life. And so that includes cookbooks. And so she has a Veggie Delight, she has Aquaba, which is Ghanaian cuisine, and Veggie Delights is like a general recipe cookbook. And so, yeah, for people who want to incorporate, more plant-based lifestyle, and that is what Veggie Delights is about, and it's also what Akua is about, but from a cultural perspective. And so she has so many other books. So I do not have all of my books here. But one of my guidebooks, which is like my holistic practitioner Bible, if you will, is the Natural Health and Wellness Consultant Manual. And so the Natural Health and Wellness Consultant Manual is the book that we use during our training. And I've literally read that book from cover to cover. And when you go into the consultant training, then you have to truly dive deep and understand all of these principles that she's created to embody the whole person, like not just, you on an individual level, the different understandings biologically for male and female bodies, to work with children, to work with elders, geriatric care. And so it really does prepare you to know, we have our pharmacology and our herbalist sections and all these things that are absolutely pivotal to the life that I live now, to the work that I do, even in so many ways, and in my work as both a practitioner and even a clinician and an educator now. It started with that manual. And so I recommend it if you, whether you take the clinician, or not the clinician, I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep saying that because they're two different things. But whether you take the consultant training or the NMAC, which is the mastery of naturopathic mastery program, or if you take the clinician training, which is the hands-on in-person trainings, you will be fully prepared to serve your community and have all the knowledge that you need to refer back to. One of my other great books that I have here is the Detox Therapy book. Again, I think I received this during my clinician training. And I wrote here to release anything that is a consistent obstacle to a balance, to balance in life. So I think it's a quote that she said. You need to release. Detoxing is about releasing anything that is a consistent obstacle to balance in life. And I thought it was so profound that I wrote it in my as my little note there. And so the detox therapy book is for there is catered, curated to us as therapists, and we use this book to teach our detox therapy class. But it's something that anyone can use and that you use for yourself. And then if you want greater knowledge, then I definitely would recommend that you take our detox therapy class. Which I thoroughly enjoyed learning and I thoroughly enjoyed teaching. Prior to becoming a detox therapist through a life of peace, I started my wellness journey through detoxing. And we all know as naturopaths that we learn from our master teachers, such as Dr. Akua Gray, that the path to wellness is through detoxing. But she is one of the first people to say detoxing should feel good too, and reminding us, because I started detoxing at a time and I didn't do it in a way that felt good, the purging and all that stuff, right? But learning about the different practices as a clinician taught me how to incorporate things that felt um, a part of a ritual of wellness, right? And that creating this lifestyle. And then, so what else do I have here? I also have but my other books are not with me. They are, oh, I also have here, before I do one book, I'm going to do so she also has naturopathic Reiki, which is um, her own intellectual spiritual property of the Reiki practice, which incorporates holistic wellness as a wellness practitioner and a lifestyle of wellness in the work as an energy healer. And so, naturopathic Reiki, this is the journal, but she has journal companions along with the books in naturopathic Reiki 1, 2, and the mastery level for you to become a Reiki master through naturopathic Reiki. And then we have our journal practices that we journey through our training as well, which is lovely. And so one of the newer renditions of this is her maternity Reiki book. I believe I might have been one of the first students to take maternity Reiki. And then we do it in our doula training. So in our holistic doula training, we teach maternity Reiki. And because I am a naturopathic Reiki master, I also teach maternity Reiki as well. And so, yes, it's so beautiful. This is something that I will continue to pass down to people. I use it in my work. You don't have to, maternity Reiki does not have to be, or Reiki in general, doesn't have to be this, oh, I'm signing up to do Reiki, have a Reiki practice, right? But it's about um, embodying the wisdom of being an energy being and being mindful of that energy. And so maternity Reiki is one of those books that we do to align the mother and child. And so energy of light and love for mother and child. So it's just specific to the perinatal period, maternal and child well-being. What else do I have here? I think that's all I have with me. However, Dr. Akua has again um over 13 published literature manuals and for us as students, and also, as I mentioned, life guidebooks along with her recipe books. And then we also have our journals that we have to accompany the work that we do. Some of the other options that she has are the master herbalism manual. And we also have iridology for the brown-eyed, and which is, I think, profound in the work that she does because she teaches it for understanding and studying iridology, the study of your well-being through your eyes, right? The health of your body through your eyes, which is what we learn in our work with through our naturopathic training. And but she specifically writes her literature for the brown eye, which is so amazing. And that is the impact that her work has had, that she saw gaps and she filled them. And that is the my biggest takeaway from the manuals, the literature, the concepts, the education, the philosophy of Dr. Akua Gray to me is through lived experience, modeling a wellness lifestyle for yourself as an individual, for your family, and also for your community. Teaching what you know, so becoming an agent of change through education that is accessible to our communities, and living this as a lifestyle, right? Modeling it and then aligning yourself spiritually in the work that you do. And one thing that I remember that she said in our iridology class, and y'all, I took iridology so long ago. But I remember she said, when you look at the line in your eye, that helps you identify if someone is like living in their purpose or if somebody is stressed. And she said, I will tell somebody if I see something in their eye that it's not worth, you need to let that go, so you think about how even iridology can help you and assist us in doing this work to assisting people in aligning with their purpose. That's how powerful it is. And that's how powerful her philosophy and her education and the things that she's done for us as a community over the last 20 years has been. So, as a synopsis, her literature prepares people to care for themselves and the family, as I said, share wellness knowledge, support their communities, and develop practical healing skills. This Dr. Akua is not gatekeeping. Her literature and philosophy and teachings allows you to actually practice this work, and it doesn't make it inaccessible. And that was what attracted me to it to begin with. And I believe that that's what has probably attracted every student who's come through a life of peace, that it has made this work tangible, and it inspires me as an educator to do the exact same, to make sure that the people who need it the most can access this, and to be a true student of the work. As somebody who has sat at the feet of Dr. Akua Gray for for 5 years now in practice, and leading up to that for 8 years as a student, leading up to that in really the last decade, right? That before I became a student officially, I was a student of her work, that she is always learning. And I always say Dr. Akua is a woman after my own heart. I don't know if she's ever heard me say that, but I say that often because she is always learning. She is always growing. She is always bettering herself so that she can support others. And very rarely do we see that, because a lot of our elders are, kind of in their ways, right? And so to see someone who understands that life is about learning, and she is a student of life, and with that she always learns so that she can give back, and that's something that I truly desire to align with fully, and I desire to continue to model that's that example that she set before me and us as a whole. All right, so please also know and remember that the work, if you read the vast work of Dr. Akua Gray, you will really come to understand that she has created a way to align naturopathic practices, whether that is through African holistic medicine or Ayurvedic medicine or Chinese medicine, right? Traditional Chinese medicine, traditional African medicine, all of these things through a naturopathic practice, and the work that we get to do in the world, but also aligning that as an African and diaspora person, and embodying that through our cultural knowledge and wisdom as well. And then bringing in the spiritual, making spiritual tangible, whether you're taking crystal therapy, or whether you are taking, the holistic sexuality and talking about sacred sexuality, whether you are, that whether we're taking any of the vast courses that we offer at A Life of Peace, it all aligns with having a spiritual base that is not something that is outside of us, but recognizing the spirit that is in all of us, that is within us, and that is around us. And then, of course, pregnancy, birth, and family care, because all of her work truly recognizes and acknowledges that life is from that perspective. Life is from, pregnancy, birth, family. That is the inception of life, the conception of life, and also the beginning and end of it all, and what has inspired her to be the naturopath, the traditional international midwife, the healer, and the educator that she is, and that she has shared with us over the last 20 years. All right, so we have come to a close, and of centralizing and doing my best to have a synopsis of the amazing work and dedication of the last 22 decades that Dr. Akua Gray has given us through her literature. And so understanding fully that her philosophy encompasses and embodies wellness as a way of life, education as community empowerment, and healing as culturally and spiritually grounded work. All right. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing what is next in our journey with celebrating 20 years of a life of peace. Thank you so much, Dr. Akua, for your service. Peace.